I know a lot of people they're looking for their own spiritual beliefs that work for them. And sometimes this awakening, sometimes as your consciousness expands, sometimes it's a slow process. And so, we have these new beliefs that we're coming in contact with. And sometimes people are like, I don't know if my spiritual beliefs are working for me. There's a really good test you can do, and it's really simple. If you think about yourself 5 years ago, and if you find yourself more compassionate, more open-hearted now than you were 5 years ago, then your spiritual beliefs are working for you. And if you find yourself like more angry and more judgmental and more closed-minded, I personally don't think that your spiritual beliefs are working for you, because that's not the goal. The goal is not to become more judgmental and more close-hearted. Is that even a word? Close-hearted? Anyway, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down.
Hey, what's up? It's Case with Everyday Masters. It seemed like a lot of you guys were into my last couple of videos talking about the wonders, which the wonders is like the volunteers, star seeds, light workers, old souls. Anyway, so let's just keep this party going. I'll read a few more of these. This is from the raw material, The Law of One. And if you go to thelawof1.info, there's a little search bar, and if you type in wonders, there's 88 times that wonders were brought up in these 5 books. This is the 3rd video. I find it interesting. I tend to be drawn to information that only validates what I already believe. So, I don't know, maybe that's why I'm reading these. Some of my favorite books, like these 2 books right here, Seth Speaks and The Nature of Personal Reality, these did more for me in my life than any book I've ever read. So I'm not saying like The Law of One is it. I'm just saying, hey man, I'm reading this lately and it's resonating with me. I'm not going to read all of these because, when you read some of them, they're talking about the questions before them. So then I would have to read all the questions asked before this question about the wonders. So, question. I am assuming from what we have previously looked at, we have on Earth today and have had in the past 4th, 5th, and 6th density wonders. As they come into incarnation, into the physical of this density for a period as a wonder, what types of polarizations with respect to these various rays do they find affecting them? Can you tell me that? Answer. 4th density wonders, of which there are not many, will tend to choose those entities which seem to be full of love or in need of love. There is the great probability of entities making errors in judgment due to the compassion with which other selves are viewed. And I think that what that means is, like, if you're a 4th density wonder, and there's not many of them, Jesus was one of them, that you're drawn to these other selves that are in need of love. And it can be a slippery slope because, as we know, sometimes we can feel when somebody needs love, and then we go to them and we give them our love. And then, later we find out, hey, dude, this person is like an energy vampire. They are draining me, and it's like a black hole. You can never give them enough love. So that is, that's something to watch out for. Because when you, as a wonder, you come to help out. You come to help out your family, your loved ones, and sometimes it ends up being a black hole. And so we have to watch out for that. The 5th density wonder is one who is not tremendously affected by the stimulus of the various rays and other self, and in its own way offers itself when a need a need is seen. Such entities are not likely to engage in the, shall we say, custom of your peoples called marriage, and are very likely to feel an aversion to childbearing and child raising due to the awareness of the impropriety of the planetary vibrations relative to the harmonious vibrations of the density of light. So I think what that means is it's almost like the fifth density is a little bit more leery, you know, of people in the need of love. They have more of a guard up because they know that they can be susceptible to these energy vampires, and I don't know, they just have slightly a guard up. They don't like the rituals of marriage, and they don't want to have kids. It's almost like they just want to come in. They want to come in, do their thing, spread their light, and get out. You know what I mean? Like, because if you start having children, then it's very easy to become karmically involved in this plane. Because, you know, when you start, you know, having children, then there's this sense of responsibility. Like, this person is going out into the world, and if they're like this negative person that's really doing no good, dude, it's almost this sense of responsibility that, hey man, you know, I raised this kid that's doing a bunch of bad shit, and like you feel this karmic bond with them. I do have 3 children. You know, there is some sense of responsibility, like, hey man, I raised these beings, and you know, man, I hope they're really good people. You know, I hope they go out and do good in the world. I will say that, you know, it's funny that they have an aversion towards marriage. Because, you know, me and my partner, I've been married. We've been together for 26 years. We're not married. We never saw the need for a piece of paper to validate our love for each other. And in fact, I kind of never do anything that I was supposed to do. The typical things, ceremonies that go along with our culture. I don't know what that means, but the 6th density, whose means of propagation you may liken to what you call fusion, is likely to refrain to a great extent from the bisexual reproductive programming of the bodily complex, and instead seek out those with whom the sexual energy transfer is of the complete fusion nature, insofar as this is possible in manifestation in 3rd density. I literally have no idea what that means. I could probably sit here and read this a few times, and anyway, I don't know what that means, and I'm just going to move on. 3211. Within many wonders of the higher densities have considerable problems with respect to incarnation in 3rd density because of this different orientation. Answer. The probability of such problems, as you call them, due to the 6th density incarnating into the 3rd is rather large. It is not necessarily a problem if you would call it thusly. It depends upon the unique orientation of each mind-body-spirit complex, having the situation or placement of vibratory relativities. Dude, I'm not even sure what that means. I'm assuming that, you know, if you're a 6th density being and you come back to the 3rd density, you know, you're used to this light and love, and we're all connected, and everybody's working harmoniously to go in the same direction. And then you come down to the 3rd density and everything's so dense and everybody's so confused and we're all pulled in all these directions. So I'm thinking that's what this means. 3616. Then the 6th density entity who has reached that point in positive orientation may choose to become what we call a wonder and move back, to come back and to volunteer to help with this shift from the 3rd density to the 4th density. And they're coming back to go from the 3rd density to the 4th density positive. They're not coming back to help people graduate to the fourth density negative. Which, there will be several people that graduate to the fourth density negative. I am wondering if this ever occurs with a negatively oriented sixth density entity. Do any move back as wonders? Dude, to be a sixth density wonder in the negative, wow, they have perfected their narcissistic, selfish service to self. That's wow. That is a rare breed, I am sure. Answer. Once the negatively polarized entity has reached a certain point in the wisdom density, it becomes extremely unlikely that it will choose to risk the forgetting. For this polarization is not selfless, but selfish, and with wisdom realizes the jeopardy of such wondering. Occasionally, a sixth density negative entity becomes a wanderer in an effort to continue to polarize towards the negative, but this is extremely unusual. So it's almost like when you reach that sixth density, there is this incredible wisdom that you have. And that negative sixth density, that negative sixth density, negative polarized being knows, dude, I don't want to go back and risk becoming positive. Risk like they don't. So there's many more sixth density positive volunteers than there would be sixth density negative volunteers. That's why I say, man, the sixth density, the wonders, they're the badasses. They risked it all. Like, I'll go back and help out with this shift. I love that. 3617, question. What is the mechanism that this unusual sixth density entity would wish to gain to polarize more negatively through wondering? Answer. The wonder has the potential of greatly accelerating the density whence it comes in its progress and evolution. This is due to the intensive life experiences and opportunities of the third density. Thusly, the positively oriented wonder chooses to hazard the danger of the forgetting in order to be of service to others by radiating love of others. If the forgetting is penetrated, the amount of catalyst in third density will polarize the wonder with much greater efficiency than shall be expected in the higher and more harmonious densities. The potential for you to slingshot forward in your knowing by going through this third density is why we're here. I mean, the potential for growth down here is second to none. Similarly, the negatively oriented wonder dares to hazard the forgetting in order that it might accelerate its progress and evolution in its own density by serving itself in third density, by offering to other selves the opportunity to hear the information having to do with negative polarization. So I guess what that means is, you have these really negative, narcissistic beings from the sixth density negative that come back and they want to spread the information of the benefits of negative polarization. Whatever with that, I don't get it, but that's cool. Question 3624. Can you tell me what percentage of the wonders on Earth today have been successful in penetrating the memory block and becoming aware of who they are? Now, during this is in the early 80s, and Ra talked about how there were 60 million wonders on the planet at this time. Now, I'm assuming, hoping, predicting that there has been a much greater influx of wonders, and we're probably around 100 million, okay, on the planet today. So when Ra answers this, he's talking about the percentage of those wonders who have woken up in the early 80s. And I know what's happened to me over these last dozen years, and how fast I woke up. So I'm assuming as the energy on the planet rises, it's becoming more easier and easier for these wonders to wake up, even though the chaos and how we're pulled in a variety of directions has also increased. But I'm feeling like the wonders are waking up faster and faster. Answer: we can approximate the percentage of those penetrating intelligently their status. This is between 8.5% and 9.75%. There is a large percentile group of those who have fairly well-defined, shall we say, symptomology indicating to them that they are not of this, shall we say, insanity. So a large percentage are realizing, dude, what's going on down here? I'm living on a crazy planet, and they're sensing that there is something different about them. This amounts to a bit over 50% of the remainder. Nearly 1/3 of the remainder are aware that something about them is different. So you see, there are many graduations of awakening to the knowledge of being a wonder. We may add that it is to the middle and first of these groups that this information will, shall we say, make sense. So that's why I say this information isn't for many people. Like, if you're drawn to this information and this resonates with you, dude, you probably made the decision to come back and to help with this transition from the 3rd density to the 4th density. Otherwise, you wouldn't click on this video and you wouldn't find any of this interesting at all. I mean, it's like common sense. 37.2. Question: I don't know if you can comment on the difficulty we will have in making the Law of One available to those who would require it and want it. Is it not something that is easy to disseminate to those who want it at this time? I am sure there are many, especially the wonders, who want this information, but will have to do something else in order to get it into their hands in the way of added material. Answer: it is possible. It's not easy. Like for me personally, when I started waking up and I started telling people, nobody cared. Nobody cared. I remember going on Facebook and being like, man, you're not going to believe what's happening to me. This is what I'm seeing. This is how my life is changing. I'm a completely different person. Nobody cared. I would literally get like 2 thumbs up. It's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And that was very, very frustrating. And it was only many, many years later, 6 years later, after I had remembered why I'm here, to be an antenna for these frequencies, to speed up this awakening, this transition. It was only after I started a YouTube channel did I realize, oh my God, people do care. Like I didn't know how to reach them until I started making videos. And, you know, I'm really, really glad that I did start making videos talking about this stuff because I feel like the right people are being drawn to it. But I will say that I don't think people realize how big a fear it was for me to get in front of a camera and start talking about this stuff. I hate cameras. Like, I hate cameras to the point where I'm not even in my high school reunion, high school yearbook. Like, there are no pictures of me. So it's almost like I came in and I just wanted to be invisible. I'm like, I wanted to be off grid. So I did have to step through a major fear and get in front of a camera and start talking about this really crazy information. At least it's crazy to the mass consciousness, you know. And in a way, I feel like that's what all the wonders are being forced to do right now. I think we're being forced to step through our biggest fears and to live the life we were meant to live. And as someone who has stepped through that fear, I mean, I still don't feel comfortable in front of the camera, but as someone who did step through that fear and is now able to support my family with this work that I do, it was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me. And as I stepped through that fear, I can validate that many of my other fears just dissolved away. So if you are just waking up and if you have something to say, I guarantee you there are people waiting for you to do your thing. They're waiting for you to step through your fear and to start shining your light. And there is a medium for you to do this. Question 45.3. Can you tell me if a large percentage of the wonders here now are those of Ra? Answer, I can. It's funny, it's like, well, do tell me. So 45.4, are they? Answer, a significant portion of 6 density wonders are those of our social memory complex. Another large portion consists of those who aided those in South America. Another portion, those aiding Atlantis. All 6th density and all brother and sister groups due to the unified feeling that as we had been aided by shapes such as the pyramid, so we could aid your peoples. So, one thing I didn't talk about this is actually they ask Ra, the social memory complex Ra, have they ever been to Earth? And they talk about coming to Earth, I believe it was 6,000 years ago, and they manifested into a physical body, which looked very similar to their bodies. And they went to Egypt, and they went to South America. God, I'm thinking it's the Mayan. God, I think it's the Mayan. I'm not like an expert on this information. Not even sure I want to be. My whole focus is on living a happy, joyous life, feeling in the flow of your life. That's my focus. I don't want to be like this intellectual guru on this information. But I will say that it was funny when they were talking about when they went to Egypt, because at the time, Egypt was very, let's say, less distorted from the law of one, which meant they were on their path. You know what I mean? And by distorted, I mean, when you understand that we are all one, we are all aspects, reflections of the one creator experiencing itself. That is the law of one. As soon as you have one thought, and free will is the first distortion. When you start having thoughts that are not in alignment with that, that's what Ra calls distortions. And, we have distortions that are just off the path of law of one, and then we have distortions that are way away from the law of one. And I will say that when they went to Egypt and they started spreading this information of the law of one, it didn't work out. It did not work out. The information was kept by the elite, and it was kept away from the masses, which makes sense because everything's been kept away from the masses. So I think that happened like 6,000 years ago. So basically saying the beings that incarnated into Egypt and into Atlantis and into South America, they're back. And we're trying to make amends for what we did. Okay, you know what? Maybe I'll just stop there. I don't know how long I've been going, but I'm not sure if this video was as informative as my other videos. But if you guys like this, I will keep going. I will, like, if you have any suggestions, I will type those into the search bar at lawofone.info, and I'll read them. I'm definitely going to cover a lot of information on healing, and I'm definitely going to cover every time that Jesus was brought up, because I just find that information just fascinating. So, okay, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I will be back with more information on the wonders and the law of one in the near future. Okay, peace.
It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Got that DJ playing music everybody wants to hear, yeah. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Everybody wants to ride in the water slide.